Shalom, shalom, akiyam. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakah, Kodash. I would also like to give a double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone, where I learned this 144% truth. I would also like to say peace and salutations to the hopeful elect, starting with the 144,000 men of Israel, which consists of the servants, the prophets, whom have been ordained since the foundations of this earth to sing this new song, which comes in the form of this gospel, which would be preached throughout all four corners of this earth and rest upon the ears of the innumerable multitude, men, women, and children of Israel, who may be scattered throughout all four corners of this earth. Shalom, shalom, beloved Akiyam and Akwaf. It's just Bayan back again through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. And I just wanted to touch on this article real briefly. I came across Zero Hedge a little while ago, and as you can see, it's talking to prophecy. And you can see the title, When Empires Die. And you can imagine it's talking to this empire, okay, which will be the good old US of A. All right, the hammer of the earth. All right, the place where the southern and northern kingdom, Israelites in the form of the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans have been subjugated, to draw water, all right, which comes in the form of servitude. We've been in a position where we've had to build up these cities. All right, we've been downtrodden, abused, misled, and completely destroyed, primarily here in the United States of America. Hence why Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai is going to bring the majority of the devastation through his indignation to this place, man. And what proves that is Isaiah the 63rd chapter. All right, but needless to say, it's beautiful. We're living in dangerous, deadly, but beautiful times. All right, we're literally witnessing the fall of an empire, man. All right, Babylon the Great, the daughter of Babylon, a.k.a. America. And it was only a matter of time, before her end would come. As scriptures tell us, there's a time and season for everything under the sun. I believe that's Ecclesiastes, the 3rd chapter. You know what? Let's start there through the Spirit. Let's start with the book of Ecclesiastes real quick to get the juices flowing. And this lesson is not going to be too long. Straight to the point. We're going to read some of the article and make it make sense through the Spirit. And it's talking to prophecy, but so heavy about it. And you will see when we get into it. But needless to say, the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 3 and verse 1. And I'm going to, verse 1 and 2 is my point. As a matter of fact, I'm going to end up jumping down to, let me see here. As a matter of fact, I'm going to read verse 1 and 2 is my point. Salakia, the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 3, Salakia, in verse 1 and 2. And it reads, to everything there is a season, and a time to every purpose under the heaven, a time to be born, and a time to die, a time to plant, and a time to pluck up that which is planted. And this even stands for kingdoms, rulerships, and empires, man. Okay? And as we're going to go here. All right. Let's go to this article here. The title reads, "The Empire When Empires Die." All right, and it's from Zero Hedge. It's dated September 23rd, 2025. All right, and we can get right into it. As a matter of fact, let's read it from the top. Let's start from the top. Right, years ago, Doug Casey stated, "When empires die, they do so with surprising speed." Okay? Oh man, and then that's the spirit. Yahweh Shai said he seen Satan fall from heaven like lightning, man. Okay? That's the spirit. But anyways, look at the time that comment raised eyebrows, yet he was quiet. Salakia, yet he was quite correct in his observation. Ernest Hemingway made a similar comment when a character in his novel, The Sun Also Rises, was asked how he went bankrupt. The answer was gradually, then suddenly, man. Okay? And this place is going to be destroyed suddenly, man. Okay? Scourges and calamities are going to come upon this place suddenly, man. Scriptures tell us that these storehouses, right, these supermarkets are going to be empty suddenly, man. It's going to happen suddenly, man. And when something happens suddenly, you can't prepare for it, man. And this is like an unto Yahweh Shai creeping up on you people like a thief in the night. Look, again, this sounds cryptic, yet it's accurate. All right? Look, an empire at its peak is all powerful. But the fragility of an empire that's in decline is hard to grasp, as the visuals tend not to reveal what's soon to come exactly. Ultimately, when an empire is suffering from CTD, okay, which is an abbreviation for circling the drain, all right, the visuals tend not to reveal until it soon comes to pass, man. Okay? They dress, these global leaders dress it up as if, they can build back better. They claim to have there's more jobs available to people more than ever before. They deny the fact that the economy's crippled. Okay? They try to deny the fact that the infrastructure is done and destroyed. They try to run around inflation. And they try to create a narrative as if they have a fighting chance, but there's darkness at the end of the tunnel. You see? Look it. Great countries are built upon traditional values, industriousness, self-reliance, honor, etc. But empires are distinctly different. Although it may seem to be a moot point, an empire is a great country whose traditional values have led it, all right, to become unusually prosperous. All right, and we know, this place has become unusually prosperous off the backs of the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, man. Okay, which came in the form of this triangular slave trade. All right, which came latter of the sub-Saharan. You see? And ultimately, Esau, Edom, the self-proclaimed white man, utilizing free labor, all right, to pretty much build up this empire. Okay? And they went from sea to shining sea, pillaging, colonizing, stealing, and lying. You see? And that's why scriptures say, let me get a quick scripture. That's why scripture says this. Just real quick. The book of Sirach, chapter 10, and verse 8, and it reads, because of unrighteous dealings, injuries, and riches got by deceit, the kingdom is translated from one people to another. And this is what we're witnessing. We're witnessing the kingdom, right? The earth being translated from Esau to Jacob. Okay? And Esau, Edom, the self-proclaimed white man, all right, has operated under the agenda of unrighteous dealings. All right, he's committed injuries to everything on the earth, including the earth itself. Okay? And he's gotten riches by deceit, man. All right? As far back, as recently as, well, what comes to mind is when they sacked the temple, the Romans. When they sacked the second temple, man. When you have the Archetytus, which even shows them, taking all of our goodly things out of the temple. This is what this man has done all around the world. This is how he's operated and behaved himself. Okay? Hey, there's a penalty for that, man. Right? Let's go back to the article. There are many countries, both large and small, that are great in their formative values, but only a few become empires. Yes, the prosperity is brought about through traditional values, but a great country becomes an empire only when its prosperity is sufficient to allow it to branch out, to invade other lands, to plunder their assets, and subjugate their people, man. Okay? Hey, we just read it. Through unrighteous dealings, injuries, and riches gotten by deceit. Alright? And this is what Esau's been doing since the Greeks. Alright? This is why when you read First Maccabees, it tells us evils were increased on the earth upon the manifestation of Antiochus Epiphanes, man, which was that wicked root that came out of the Seleucid Empire, man. All right, which one of Alexander the Greek's generals he split his kingdom up with, because you had Seleucid, Ptolemy, Cassandra, and Antigonus. You see? And Antiochus Epiphanes came out of the Seleucid Empire, man. Let's continue on. And it tells you that that's when evils increase on earth. That's not a coincidence, man. That's not written for nothing. Those were Edomites, man. That's why evils increase, because they are the wicked. See? Let's get a little more. Let's go. We tend to grasp through hindsight that this is what made the Roman Empire possible. And that's not a coincidence. They're bringing up the Roman Empire. By being that this is the revival of the fallen Western Roman Empire. All right, America, through the form of the Renaissance period, is the revival of the Western Roman Empire. Look, and we accept that the Spanish Empire was created through its invasion of the Americas and the plundering of pre-Columbian gold. And we understand that the tiny island of Britain, right, and we know that that's this bitch's mother, all right, Great Britain. Look, it achieved its empire by covering the world with colonies that it had taken by force, right? Okay, look at in every case, and not to mention these are Edomites we were just mentioning, man. All right, the Spanish, the Greeks. The Spanish, the British. All right, these are Edomites. Columbus. Look, let's continue on. And we understand that the tiny island of Britain achieved its empire by covering the world with colonies that it had taken by force. Right. Again, this is what they've always done. They've colonized. You see? Look into the colonization period, man. This is what they've done. This is how Esau's gained control of the world. Okay, but ultimately, him coming out of the pit, pursuant to Revelations 20, all right, which the pit is just talking to Europe. He was after the fall of the Western Roman Empire, Esau was shut up for 1,000 years. All right, you have your scholars or what have you. They'll coin that time period between the fall of the Western Roman Empire up to about the mid 1300s. They'll coin that era, the Dark Ages. They'll call it the Middle Ages or the medieval times. Okay, is when Esau was through. His ass was sat down and he was out of there. All right, moving around in caves, looking crazy. Okay, eating juniper root. You see, but this nigga was able to come up out the. He was able to come out of the pit. All right, and it said, and this is when he fulfilled his blessing he received from Isaac. Back in Genesis, the 27th chapter, where he would have the fatness of the earth and the dew of heaven. That was fulfilled via the Renaissance. You see, via the rebirth of the fallen Western Roman Empire. This is when this man was going to be able to literally go from north, south, east, west, and fulfill his blessing. And now he's at the end of it. See, he's at the last seconds of it, and he knows it. He knows it. He's mad as hell. He's gonna try anything and everything to extend it. Look, let's continue on. As a British subject, my childhood understanding was that previous empires had come about through nefarious pursuits. But I was encouraged to believe that the British Empire was somehow different. That my forefathers sailed the 7 seas to liberate distant populations. That, of course, was nonsense. The British Empire is now long over, and the current empire is the United States. Around 1900s, the then great country of the U.S. sought to achieve empire, and at that time, its president, Teddy Roosevelt, was insatiable in his desire to conquer foreign lands, both near Nicaragua, Guatemala, El Salvador, Panama, Puerto Rico, Cuba, which are all Israelites, right? And far, right? Hawaii, the Philippines, which is Japhet, right? And Japan, all right, which is Ammon. But check it out. The results of his efforts were mostly successful, right? They were mostly successful, right? And although the countries taken were not called colonies, they were certainly intended to be vassal states. Isn't that a coincidence? All right, which is no such thing. Okay, just like the Western Roman Empire, right? They had vassal states, which we know the vassal states of Babylon, of this beast system, will be these 10 horns. Okay, which would consist of the European Union, man. You see that? But let's continue on. And there can be no question the government's methods were no kinder than that of the Huns. Some locations like Hawaii went fairly peacefully, while others like the Philippines required brutal slaughter on a grand scale. This is what this man has done. You see, and this is just the tip of the iceberg. Okay? Look at, and such tactics change the nature of a great country. Yes, it does allow it to become even greater in terms of domination, but it ceases to be great in terms of its values, right? And now this place has shame for glory, because this is the track record of this place. You see? Going from sea to sign and sea, raping, robbing, and slaughtering. This is this place's history. Right? Let's get a little more. Excuse me. In most cases, this plants the seeds of empirical collapse. The empire, even as it's growing, is rotting from within. Right? That's what imperial collapse is going into. Hold on for 1 second. Yeah, even as it's growing, it's rotting from within, with deteriorating principles, immorality, the very traits that created it, man. Okay? And as you can see, this place is sexually immoral. That's one place. That's one thing that really highlights when it comes to this place's morals. All right? It's completely adverse to righteousness. You see? To where an 8-year-old child can change their being in the form of their sexual makeup. That's complete madness, and that's just one example. Okay? Look, This, in turn, causes the empire to develop a habit of subjugation, even over its friends and allies abroad. And we witnessed this during Donald Trump putting tariffs on his own allies like Canada, man. All right, there was a big rift about that. This man was only months in. He was only months in on his second term, and he caused all that riffraff. Okay, but we witnessed that. You see? Look it. Let's continue on. This in turn causes the empire to develop habits of subjugation even over its friends and allies abroad, those countries that got on board to take part in the prosperity. While in some extent these loyalties by other nations are genuine, they are treated as lesser nations, eventually causing resentment of the empire. Right? Doesn't scriptures tell us that it's in the book of Daniel, how she puffeth her fellows, roughly paraphrasing? I'm gonna have to go get that. Bear with me. Bear with me. There it goes. Yep, there it goes right here. Here's what I want. Right here. Let's start at let's go right to the point. Daniel 7:20. Right? And of the 10 horns that were in his head, and of the other which came up, right? And the other that came up was Babylon the Great, aka America. And before whom 3 fell, right? The Spanish, the British, and the French, right? Even of that horn that had eyes and a mouth that spake very great things, right? They blasphemed the Lord, right? Whose look was more stout than his fellows, man. You see that? Because what this place is done, what she does is she puffeth at them. Okay? She looks at them like they ain't shit. Anyway, here's another scripture I want. Let me see. Right here. Let's get this precept too. And we'll go back to the little article. Psalms 10:5. His ways are always grievous. Thy judgments are far above out of his sight. As for all his enemies, he puffeth at them, man. Okay? And this is talking to the wicked, which we know the wicked will be none other than Esau, Edom, the self-proclaimed white man. All right, first and foremost. You see that? This is his, and even amongst his fellow brethren, man. All right, there's no honor amongst these, man. You see, these Westerners, man. They're on a whole nother level of pride. You see, but this is where Evil E set up his throne. Okay, them small hats. This is why this is the United States of Israel. For those of you that don't know. Okay, that's right. That's why there's prophecy going into how, how them small hats are gonna draw out this whore. The least of the flock shall draw her out. You see, the least of the flock of Edomites, man, the Amalekites. They're gonna draw out Babylon. You see that? Because they're cohesive, man. This is where this is the throne right here. This is Esau's throne. Babylon the Great. You see that? Who's this that coming from Edom with dyed garments from Basra? This is why Yahweh Bashim Yahushua got his scorpio set on this place. Let's go back to the article. Bear with me. I just want to get a little more. Let's get a little more. As such, in the latter days of the empire, allied nations become toadies. You see that? And what's a toady?
Toady.
A person who behaves obsequiously to someone important. Let's get this word, obsequiously. Bear with me. Just find the word, man. This is crazy. Let's do
Obsequious.
right. Obedient or attentive to an excessive or civil degree. Right. So they become obedient unto them, right? Now let's go ahead. As such, in the latter days of the empire, allied nations become toadies, right, which goes into being obedient, right? Their hatred for the empire is palpable, but they maintain their obedience grudgingly. Okay, and this is talking to Revelations, the 17th chapter. Okay, this is talking to Revelations, the 17th chapter. Let's go get it. The Lord's going to put it in their heart to agree, right? Look at the book of Revelation, chapter 17. I'm going to start from the bottom and read up. And it reads, Revelation 17 and 18, it reads, And the woman which thou sawest is that great city, which reigneth over the kings of the earth. Okay, that woman is Babylon the Great. Looking for power hath put it in their hearts to fulfill his will and to agree and give their kingdom unto the beast until the words of power shall be fulfilled. You see that? So even though this bitch is turning around oil tankers on them, remember she turned that oil tanker around on Germany? They ain't forget about that, man. Europe was pissed as hell, man. Okay? But they're in a position where they're being obsequious. You see? They're being obedient. Why? Because the Spirit's on them via Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. Up until the breaking point, man. Until the Lord's word be fulfilled. Look. And then, it's like here, and the 10 horns, right? The EU, the European Union, right? Which is these vassal states, right? Which thou sawest upon the beast. These shall hate the whore, man. Okay? These shall hate the whore. The whore is America, man. Look at, she's riding upon this beast. Remember, look at, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh. How? And burn her with fire, man. How do you think that's going to be accomplished, man? The third world's woe, the thermonuclear fallout. That's how this is going to be accomplished. Let's finish this article. Let's get this. Let's get these 3 paragraphs and we out. Look at, empires are built upon monetary prosperity. We can understand that an empire in its heyday attracts all and sundry to its shores. It built, right, everybody wanted to come to America, man. We seen that era, right, the golden era of Babylon the Great, where they were selling you an American dream, which was exactly what it says, a dream. Look, it builds up the ability to dictate to others, since the whole world hopes to gain favor. But towards the end of the empirical period, it's resented by all those who were once genuine allies, man. Okay, this is talking to Obadiah. Obadiah, what's that? 1 and 7. All that were at peace with thee. Look it, let's get it. Obadiah 1 and 7. All the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the board, and we know this is a book dedicated to Esau, man. This Obadiah. Alright, it says, all the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee. You see that? So this place is being deceived, man. Our evil is being deceived, even by her allies. Look, and prevailed against thee. See? So she's going to lose, man. They're going to win. All right? Just as it tells us in Jeremiah. It tells us in Jeremiah she's going to lose. Jeremiah, what's that, 50 and 9. Right? Right? They that eat thy bread have laid a wound under thee. Right? Which is going to come in the form of the missiles. There is none understanding in them. Okay? Let's go back to the article, man. This is cold, man. Let's continue on. In its latter days, an empire becomes hollowed out. It's burdened with a costly and top-heavy government. The middle class is expected to provide largesse to the masses through bread and circuses, providing fealty for the political class. Traditional values are largely gone, and everyone seeks to live off everyone else, man. All right, at this point, the empire is a mere superstructure, one that's becoming increasingly unsound. Importantly, the prosperity that made empire possible is replaced by the illusion of prosperity. Debt. All right, and this is exactly what this place is laden with, as scriptures tell us. Let's go to it. So these are all signs and tokens. What we're witnessing are all signs and tokens of the end of Babylon. You see? We'll close out with this. Bear with me. Is this what I want? You know what? Yeah, this is what I want. I'm going to start from verse 5. All right, verse 6 is the point. And it reads, Habakkuk 2 and 5, and it reads, yeah, also, because he transgresseth by wine, right, which goes into his philosophies, right, his way of life, right? Look it. He is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desire as hell, and is as deaf, and cannot be satisfied, man. All right, and we witness this throughout Esau's whole entire history. All right, but gathereth unto him all nations, see, and heapeth unto him all people. And the only reason why he was able to do that was because Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, he was that golden cup in Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai's hand, man. You see? Only reason why he was able to do that. But check this out. Shall not all these take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him, and say, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his? How long? Right, and this land's not yours. But this nigga Esau will be quick to tell you to go back to your own country. But here it is. He came here via ship. All right, over 500 years ago, man, from Europe, and stole it from the Taínos. But anyways, let's continue. And Gad. But anyways, let's continue on. Right? Woe to him that increaseth that which is not his. How long? And to him that ladeth himself with thick clay, man. And when you're ladeth with something, right? You're weighed down. Okay? You're weighed down. It's weighing you down. You see, so this place is weighed down with thick clay, which is the debt. Okay? But it gives you the illusion, right, of prosperity. See? Man, that's the title. The illusion of prosperity. Right? It gives you the illusion of prosperity. In reality, it's debt, and it's what everybody's suffering from. You see? Thanks to the global elite. You see that? But guess what? This is a token of a fallen empire, man. Babylon is fallen. All praise, honor, and glory To Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakah Chodash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone, where I learned this 144% truth. Lord willing, you Akiyam and Akwath were edified. Shalom.